You guys have been amazing. So we've asked you several different kinds of questions, but we just want you to kind of like just take this as an editorial in terms of, Sierra, I'm going to ask you to start.
Okay.
What is it that you'd like to be able to share with women as it relates to not only just marriage, but I mean, not about the wedding, but about marriage? What would you like to share?
Make your husband feel as special as you want them to make you. I know a lot of times women want to be romanticized and we want this and that and the special treatment, and we think the guy's just supposed to do all that for us, and we just, sit at home and, make sure they eat or whatever. But they want to feel that special treatment too. And figure out your partner's love language. Love them in their love language. A lot of times we give love how we want to receive it, and that's not necessarily how other people want to be loved. So that's something I'm working on and trying to figure out. But I think that would be something that could really benefit other couples striving to get married and want to get married, engaged couples that are already married. Focus on love languages, how they want to be treated.
Figure out what is yours.
I like quality time. I would say that's mine. Quality time, I would say, is mine. I would say he's definitely a physical touch person. I'm not a physical touch person. I like to cuddle, but other than that, I'm like, not
don't
really,
touch me.
Not really a big physical touch person.
Okay.
So I would say focus on that. Learn your love language, your partner's love language, and make sure that they feel special too. Don't just always want to receive, but make sure you give equally or even more.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Jeremy, what about you? What would you like to share? And trust me, your information that you will share with men, guys, is going to be really, really important too.
I would say one thing, and you mentioned this earlier, but I completely agree with it, is get you a friend who you could, who be your sounding board, and not necessarily somebody, a single friend. You get you a married friend or a married mentor, a guy that you could, talk to about a lot of things that men deal with within marriages, or even thinking about. We're not necessarily gonna tell your wife. We don't tell our wives every single thing.
No.
But you need some things.
They can't handle it. They can't handle it. Right.
True. But I would say like something that has helped is not necessarily having those guys that you could talk to. Maybe especially when it's somebody older or somebody who's been doing this marriage thing longer than you have, because 9 times out of 10 they've experienced it or something similar to it. And when you got that transparency and you're like, all right, me, guys just being real 100 with each other, it could make it a lot better. I feel like a lot of times we think about the images of what a perfect marriage, and to me I feel like there is no perfect marriage, so to say. There's, everybody's gonna have their ups and downs. You might not see it displayed, but just because, what we might do on social media or what we, carry ourselves out in the street, we could get back in the car and then not speak to each other because we just had an argument. But, I feel like other men might, understand that, like, hey, I can't believe, this is how I'm feeling, or this is what my wife did, or, this is what's going on in the house. And you could probably talk to, your friend and be like, hey, I did that. Me and my wife went through this, try this, try that. And it could be, different ideas that you might not have thought about originally. I know recently, one of my mentors, him and his wife been married almost 30 something years. And even though my dad and my mom has been married, pretty much about that same year, like 36 years, it's some things that I'm not going to talk about with my dad with my marriage, but I'm able to be that open, just say, okay, hey, we just experienced this, or we going through this, and he'd be like, hey, me and my wife dealt with that 20 years ago. Try this, or we're still dealing with that. It's something that is going to evolve. So I feel like a lot of those things that we deal with as men, if you have that other man, now make sure he's a married, committed, friend. Because I have friends who done told me, complete opposite. Like, man, well, let's go do this, let's go meet this woman, So it's, which is not sound advice, but make sure you have that support system, from a man, that you can get that advice from.
Thomas has always said, make sure that when you find a mentor for a female, as a wife as well as a husband, that make sure they point you back to your wife, but they point you back to God.
Mm-hmm.